The strange letter that the witch had entrusted to Maria wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Maria was repeatedly barraged with questions by Aunt Rosa and the other parents, and became increasingly ill-tempered when they refused to believe her. If we kids tried to butt in, they'd probably ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up, firing back and forth about the gold and the distribution of the assets, and completely forgetting that we were even here. I'd already guessed they'd been talking like this in the shadows, but I hadn't thought they'd be so blunt. It gave all of us kids a considerable shock. From what we could overhear, all the parents wanted more money as soon as possible.
Yeah, let's spend a lot of money right now.
Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold, if it was found. About advance payments and cash. It was so despicable, I could hardly bear to watch, even though one of them was my father. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats without being asked to, and went to hang out somewhere well away from our parents.
I get it. Now I totally see why grandfather hates coming down for meals. I'm so disillusioned with our parents right now. All that about money and the inheritance? How can they act like that right out in the open?
Well, I'm already completely disillusioned with my old bastard. There's no way I can think any worse of him.
That's exactly the same for me. Still, that freaking shocked me. Shocked me to the core.
Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. The depths of Jessica's shock made that clear.
You're all minors being supported by your parents, so you might not understand.
Fuck off, George.
Yeah, fuck off.
But getting money is neither a simple nor a pretty thing. I won't try to force you to understand right now, since you're all still kids. Fuck. But even so, I want you to realize that your parents are just doing their best in their own way.
Oh, great. George Anaki's gotten all mature.
George Nissan, I know you're working hard as a full-fledged member of society, but does that mean you turn into a shameless, greedy vulture like our parents whenever you start talking about money and assets? If it were only for my own benefit, then no, I wouldn't want to do that. However, when your family and your employees, your subordinates and their families are all counting on you, there are some times when you must fight. I hate that kind of fight. The back and forth about grandfather's inheritance just makes me want to puke.
Jessica pretended to spit
Why
violently.
did you just whip?
Don't worry about it.
I'll spit on you.
That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
Yeah, that whip really did kill my gun. Fucking...
Let's stop talking about this. All this about grandfather's hidden gold, property, inheritance, and whipping is our parents' problem, not ours.
Fuck you.
I hate you. I agree. At the very least, I think children have a duty to be considerate, and stay out of their parents' way when they're talking together. George, you're like, how old?
23. Let's not start this again.
Sounds pretty boring.
Huh?
Huh?
Oh, God. Everyone knows the phrase, adults are filthy. I mean, I didn't.
What the
I don't
fuck?
think, is that like a phrase? I mean, it's like a selection of words that can be put together. I don't know, man.
Adults are filthy.
Maybe in Japanese.
But we had now
probably.
seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a considerable shock. George Aniki was now pretty much an adult, and had already been disillusioned with my dad, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But Jessica seemed to be taking it hard. Apparently, she'd received a bigger blow than I'd thought. She'd always talked badly about her parents, but it looks like she hadn't changed at all on the inside. Even now, she's still a pure-hearted, delicate person who can't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does. And then her parents started raging about, going, money, money, inheritance, inheritance, my money! Right in front of all the other parents and the children. It's no surprise she received such a shock from hearing that.
Jessica-chan, please, don't start hating your mother and father. Start.
I know, right?
Hating.
Start.
You say hating? I heard
Yes, I
hitting.
said hating.
I heard hitting, and I was like, well, I don't hear anything.
I mean, I won't ask you to understand them, but at least don't hate them. I get it. Just leave me alone for a bit.
And I was like, yeah, don't hate him.
Only I can hate my dad.
6 years ago, I would have kept taunting Jessica even after she got all dejected. But I guess I really have grown over the last 6 years. I realized it'd be better to leave Jessica alone right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be alone for a while. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
Come to think of it, I wonder where Maria-chan went.
She's probably pouting in front of the portrait. Maria truly looked up to witches, and she'd expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity, thoroughly bombarding Maria with questions and refusing to accept her story. Even for me, it wasn't hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. They couldn't speak to Maria or Jessica. In the end, George, Aniki, and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain in the dark night.
Poetic.
Honestly.
Batman?
What?
Dark Knight.
Oh, haha.
I wonder what happened. What's happening with that typhoon? Maybe there's something about it on the news.
Fuck, you're only in it, George. George and Aniki started walking over to the corner of the parlor where the television was.
Like stand on the rain, like, hey, what's to do with that weather, man? What's the weather like, you know?
Someone fucking explain, what is this?
He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. So without going over to the television, I loitered around the window.
The wind hasn't picked up that much here. I wonder if it's horrible over the sea. I did hear about a severe storm warning on the weather report.
Ah, Kirie-san. I take it those big talks between the adults are going smoothly, yeah? She seemed to catch the sarcasm. Kirie-san shrugged.
I wonder if that stomachache of a discussion will continue all night. It's not going to be fun.
Well then, please enjoy playing vultures to grandfather's property as much as you'd like.
Damn.
I feel sick.
I'll agree with you on that. If I could just slip away like you, I'd do it. Unfortunately, I can't. Even if I'm not allowed to speak. We spouses have it pretty rough, too.
Kirie-san took a deep breath, smiling bitterly. That's right. They probably wouldn't let Kirie-san speak, since she's only married into the family. Still, as Dad's partner, she has no choice but to stay by his side and support him. She's probably had to bear the full brunt of this mental pressure much more than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I'd spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being. So, how does it look? Are they still stuck on the topic of the mysterious witch, Beatrice?
More or less. Those four siblings are always piling up secret agreements when they come close together to discuss the division of grandfather's inheritance. They're saying that some unknown fifth person has appeared and is trying to make things even more complicated, and there's no way that'll make for a peaceful conversation. Just when you think they're snarling at each other, they set up a common front. Natsuhine-san's not the only one getting headaches.
On one hand, they all want larger portions than the other siblings, so they're all rivals. But on the other hand, they don't want 1 yen to be snatched up by anyone other than the siblings, so they're also all allies. I hadn't been told the details, but the siblings are apparently discussing how to protect their shares under various situations, setting up ceasefire agreements and rules to prevent anyone from getting an unfair advantage, even preparing to resort to legal action if absolutely necessary. That they would go this far to preserve their shares was so beyond disgusting, you just had to acknowledge their resilience. So basically, Beatrice is like an assassin sent by grandfather. He probably wanted to scare the hell out of his children for talking about the inheritance without him.
Who is this Beatrice, I wonder? If everything she claims is true, then she's a mystery figure that no one knew about until today. And she also knows about grandfather's hidden gold. On top of that, she was even entrusted with the head's ring. She must truly have been trusted by him.
Well, obviously I don't think she's a witch riding around on a broom. But there's no doubt she's a mysterious person who's earned the right to be called a witch.
If only Maria-chan would go into more detail about that. Everyone's been smothering her, even though she's just a little girl. They really scared her, and some things they might have asked can't be asked. I wonder if those people have ever even read The North Wind and the Sun.
What we do know is that Maria received a letter from a person who took the name Beatrice. She sure is shy for a mystery person, entrusting Maria with a letter and hiding away even now, when she could have just appeared and talked to us directly.
Hey, Battler-kun, do you really think a person called Beatrice actually exists?
Who knows? Doesn't it really seem like a false name? Like she's grandfather's representative, so she was given permission to take the name of the witch from his delusions?
No, that's not what I meant. Right now, there's a total of 18 people here on Rokenjima. Do you think there's a 19th person?
Awesome. Are there really a full 18 people on this island right now? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers, and it really did come out to that many. Do I think that a 19th person exists? What exactly do you mean?
Just what I said. The person who lent Maria that umbrella supposedly wasn't one of us 18. So, isn't it natural to assume that a 19th person exists, and that this person lent Maria the umbrella?
Well, yeah, it sure looks that way.
Then, where exactly is this person now? At the very least, she must have been on the island when it started raining. And ever since that time, the weather has grown progressively worse, so taking a boat out would be pretty much impossible. In that case, that person must still be on the island, hiding from the rain somewhere. And without any of us spotting her.
True. We've all been randomly prowling around all over the mansion and the guest house, but no one has bumped into a 19th person. But this island is huge. There might be other places to take shelter from the rain, other than the mansion and the guest house. At about this time, I began to realize what direction Kiryu-san's suspicions were taking us in. Kiryu-san was denying that a 19th person existed. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, she thought someone we knew well was tricking us.
If Beatrice is who she claims, she would surely be the most honored of guests. The most honored of confidants, trusted by Grandfather. There's no way Grandfather wouldn't give that kind of person a warm reception. She would surely have been ushered into the mansion. However, we haven't seen anyone like that.
Wait a sec. Isn't this line of reasoning a bit too hasty? Sure, no one has spotted this person, but that doesn't mean you can deny the possibility of a 19th person exists, right? Maybe, for some reason, they landed on the island stealthily and have been hiding ever since. It's what they call devil's proof. Oh, so we're starting this shit then.
Awesome.
It's easy to prove that something exists.
Love Devil's Proof.
If this Beatrice appears in front of us all and says hi, then it's settled. But it's impossible to prove that there's no 19th person.
Yes. Battler-kun, your way of reasoning isn't bad. In our current situation, there isn't enough information to either accept or deny that a 19th person exists. But if you spin the chessboard around and think that way, we can deny the existence of a 19th person with near certainty.
Spin the chessboard around was one of Kiryu-san's favorite phrases. I've been influenced by those words and used them myself from time to time. When you get stuck trying to find a move in chess or shogi, then by spinning the board around and looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you can often see a strategy that will give you an upper hand. It means turning things around and putting yourself in your opponent's shoes.
You see, let's say that a 19th person called Beatrice actually exists.
Beatrice?
That person must have managed, without being seen by anyone, to stealthily arrive on this island and remain hidden ever since. Maybe they had some...
That's still
yes.
Yeah. Maybe they had some reason, okay? In that case, why did they go to all of the trouble of appearing before Maria and handing her the letter?
It really was a contradiction. If they had some reason for hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time. But even so, they had appeared openly in front of Maria. Then... Wait, Maria herself said it. She said the witch made her a messenger. Maybe that's because Maria was the... Maybe that's because Maria was the youngest and looked the most obedient.
Why would they need a messenger? If they just wanted a letter delivered to the family conference, they could have mailed it. If they mailed it to each of the 4 siblings, no one would be able to ignore it. There was no need for this person to carry it themselves and secretly deliver it by hand.
Yeah, that does sound pretty weird.
In the first place, if Beatrice existed and wanted to make her presence known to everyone, then she could have just openly presented herself to all of us. Despite that, she chooses the vague method of appearing through a little girl called Maria-chan, and only gave us a vague impression of who she was. Contradiction. Let's go a little deeper, shall we? She appeared in front of Maria, trying to give us the impression that a 19th person existed, and yet she still hasn't appeared before us and is hiding somewhere at this very moment. Think about those contradictions. You've got to keep these things in your mind when you spin the chessboard around. In short, if a person wants to leave us with the impression that Beatrice exists as the 19th person, what might their goal be?
If this person wanted to hide, then they wouldn't have made their presence known. And if they wanted to show themselves, they wouldn't have used the roundabout approach of entrusting someone with a letter. Which means...
It's simple. Beatrice is one of the 18 people. That's why they want to create the illusion that there are more than 18 people. The 19th person was revealed so spectacularly. If someone were to profit from this, it wouldn't be some 19th person in hiding. It'd be one of the original 18 people. Of course, this reasoning is full of holes. If you turn over even a few of its premises, it'll simply fall apart. But I'm almost completely certain it's correct.
This is starting to feel pretty creepy. Someone lent Maria the umbrella and handed her the letter. Supposedly, none of the 18 did this. And yet, Beatrice was hidden amongst those 18. What was this person planning, hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice?
I suspected it might have been Maria-chan play acting, but the contents of the message were extremely complicated, and it's hard to imagine Maria-chan writing that herself.
Yeah, she's a little fucking dumb.
Yeah,
she's pretty fucking
stupid.
stupid. However, I can't deny the possibility that Maria-chan is working together with someone.
Wait a sec. Maria's a 9-year-old kid, right? What could she possibly be planning? And with whom? I refuse to believe Battler knows how to use the word whom. And what about her straightforward, overly honest, obedient nature?
Yes, I also understand what kind of a person Maria-chan is. But that's exactly why I think it's possible. That girl's a dreamer who can't help but look up to and blindly accept the existence of witches. So if a person appeared in front of her and claimed to be the witch Beatrice, Maria-chan would happily swallow it up, I think.
So you're saying that if someone disguised themselves by wearing that fancy dress from the portrait, tricking Maria wouldn't be that hard?
Of course. With that reasoning, all of us women would become the primary suspects.
Imagine Gilda wearing
Anyway.
that dress.
It's fucking canon.
Fuck, no, it wasn't canon. What? They just said all the women. Jesus.
You never know, man.
I guess.
Shannon's got the biggest titties.
Fair line of reason.
Anyway, who did Maria Chan encounter? Learning the details of that question would be the best key to solving this riddle. But this key has been firmly locked away inside Maria Chan's heart. Everyone denied the existence of the witch without listening to her, barraging her too much with questions about who Beatrice really was. She probably won't open her heart into the adults now.
My hands.
Understandable.
Yeah, that's fine.
In the dim hall, in front of the...
Oh, is that me? Oh, Lama. In the dim hall, in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing.
Ooh! Ooh! No one believes I met Beatrice. Ooh! Ooh! Even though I showed them the letter Beatrice gave, they still don't believe. Ooh! Ooh! Ooh!
Anyway, Maria Chan's holding the key. The key to whether Beatrice is one of the 18 people or a 19th person.
Maria's stubborn, right? When that girl gets angry, it's pretty hard to make her feel better.
Battler-kun, I think a kid like you would be better at cheering her up than an adult like me. After she's feeling better, try asking. I know you don't care about all this back and forth about the inheritance, but don't you find this Western Mansion mystery situation exciting? Who in the world is this person who gave Maria Chan the letter? It makes your intellectual curiosity ache. I thought Bella was a fucking idiot.
No, he knows some shit. You're actually pretty tough, considering you're still excited after being dragged through the endless money talk. Adults can be pretty amazing. I shrugged exasperatedly, but I did notice something. Kyrie noticed how dejected I was after overhearing our parents' turbulent discussion, and was probably trying to clear the air. At the very least, I'd recovered enough to voice my complaints. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mom, but it did make me think she's a real adult.
Scott.
In the song.
Hey, brats! So this is where you were. Kyrie, you really took your time fixing your makeup, didn't you? Think I'll make a habit of going on to touch my makeup up, too.
I'm sorry. A woman's makeup takes a long time. So, how has the discussion been without me?
I'm sure everything was all peaceful and harmonious. Kira-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow. Fuck, that would actually make me scream.
We decided to take a break to cool our heads a little. It looks like we'll be at it all night. Makes me want to cry.
His way of talking hadn't changed, but he couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his normal, energetic self.
Still, that rain's just awful. I really don't want to go back to the guest house. It looks like Natsuki Nason set things up so we could spend the night here in the mansion. What'll we do?
We don't need to decide until you're done, right? If you run so low on energy that you can't return to our room, then we can take them up on their offer.
You're right. We can think about it later. What about you, Battler?
If I stayed, I'd just get in the way. I'll be nice and go back over there.
I see. Will you go back soon?
I don't know. I'd be lonely to head back all by myself. I'll gather all the kids and we'll head out.
Okay. You go do that. Also, Battler, you won't be going to sleep that easily tonight, right?
Yeah, I'll probably be talking up with the cousins. Sounds like we'll be up all night. Is there a problem with that?
I see. If you're still awake when the adults' discussion is over, I want to have a little talk, as a family.
A what? That doesn't sound like you. Apparently, Kiri-san was thinking the same thing.
Curious.
What are you talking about?
She asked him in a small voice. It looked like Kyrie-san didn't have a clue what Dad meant either.
I also want to talk to you about it, Kyrie. I'll tell you later, so don't ask now. Please.
I don't know anyone who neglects the concept of family as much as this old bastard. And now he's saying we're gonna have a talk as a family. Both Kyrie-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed.
Don't look so terrified. I'm the one who should be terrified, after all.
At that point, he swallowed his words up for an instant. Even though putting on airs of importance wasn't much like my dad. You're freaking me out, Dad. Everyone in our family's gathered here now, right? Don't make a big deal out of it and spit it out.
Tonight, I will probably be killed.
There was a huge crash of thunder.
Whomst?
It must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself, and which always wore a taunting expression, was strangely frail in a way I couldn't really explain. It was so worn out that he looked like a different person.
Not you, Papa.
What? What are you talking about? That doesn't sound like you.
I agree. What happened? You look so timid all of a sudden. It's not like you.
I'm gonna go fix my makeup, too. Don't follow me.
Dad turned away, weakly. After that, only Kyrie and I were left, still wide-eyed. What did he say? Tonight he'll be killed? You don't think that mysterious letter scared him, do you?
God, I don't like that battler face.
I love that battle.
Me too, actually. He's been watching too many serial murder movies. Kyrie-san didn't answer my light-hearted words, and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back.
Battler-kun, when you told Rudolph-san to spill the beans right away, he left without telling us anything. Even though he said he had something to say to both of us, he didn't answer you. Why? Spin the chessboard around. What do you see?
Well, when he said he wanted to talk, but then couldn't, that's a contradiction. What? Can you see something by looking from Dad's perspective?
Yes, I can see something. He wants
I'm
to
dead.
talk about something. However,
Just like
he
we
doesn't
might
have the
be.
courage to bring it up. So he actually means chase after me, talk to me, and ask me about it yourself. By saying don't follow me, he actually means the opposite.
Rudolph the Sunday.
I don't like how you said chase after me.
He is a tsundere, actually.
He actually means follow me and force me to answer.
Oh no. All that sounded bad how you said it.
Seriously, what a spoiled brat.
What? Can you really call that reasoning? That's ridiculous.
Can great private and police detectives deduce the emotions and feelings between men and women? They can't, right? Figuring out the feelings of the opposite sex is an even more advanced art than exposing the tricks in difficult crime cases. If you ask me, romance novels have much deeper mysteries than masterpiece mystery novels.
That's why this is both.
I see. Is that how it is?
I'll stand alongside that spoiled brat. He normally loves to bluff, but tonight he's completely tired out from all that heated discussion. He probably wants someone to lean on at the moment, and responding to that need is the role of his partner.
Sounds pretty passionate. Then I'll leave that old bastard in your hands.
Yes, leave it to me.
I called out to Kyrie-san's departing back.
Huh? What?
I wanted to say thanks. Thanks to you, my gloomy mood has cleared up a lot.
That's good. Communication is important.
After answering with a wink, Kyrie-san followed after Dan. Wasn't fucking mom winking at me, Jesus.
It's not your mom.
Get out of my fucking
Natsuhi could be found in a dimly lit hallway. Now and then, the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on her expression. She looked completely worn out. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsuhi's mind. Beatrice had proclaimed that in addition to the gold, all of the inheritance and property of the Ushiramiya family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Kraus, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the older siblings had absolutely no chance to inherit the headship. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. It was obvious that they would accept it. There was no need to play some clumsy detective game. Natsuki knew that the so-called 19th person, Beatrice, couldn't exist. Naturally, Beatrice was nothing more than a fictional character used to pass a message that Kinzo had written himself. As proof, Kinzo had remained stubbornly neutral as to the letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring these reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore, that he had given up the head's ring. In short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Maria the letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait would be prepared, and someone, probably Shannon, would be made to wear it and deliver the letter and umbrella. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, that alone was proof that Kinzo was behind all this. In that case, it was the same as Kinzo trying to butt in on a siblings' private discussion. Then Kinzo, by announcing that he'd given everything to the person who solved the riddle, could weaken Kraus's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had eavesdropped on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day, so he had known how Kraus had staved off the attack by the other three, and to make the skills of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out this strange letter, which benefited Kraus's rivals. He was trying to push this crazy theory so that Rosa, who had a weak position among his siblings because of her age, would join with Ava and Rudolph. Then, with the 3-to-1 advantage, they'd be able to overwhelm Kraus yet again and make their ridiculous theories get accepted by force. And by doing that, he gave them the power to resettle what had once been a nearly decided conflict. They had now started repeatedly pressing Kraus to pay them a large amount of money. Right now. Using the condition that all of the siblings would guarantee Kraus's position as the successor, talk about advanced payments was being brought up again, despite having been rejected once. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Ushirimiya family's store of wealth was vast. That store of wealth alone was more than enough. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever, along with Kinzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Therefore, even if they weren't that interested in the gold itself, Kinzo had managed to instill the lifelong fear that, on the off chance that someone found the gold, that person would be granted the headship. And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was his successor, Kraus. The other siblings had found, no, they had been told by Kinzo about something that only Kraus could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsuki, as Kraus's only ally in his painful position and as his wife, wanted to fight alongside him. She kept trying to explain to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce, and that there was no need for him to compromise. Meanwhile, her daughter is just coughing in the corner. Kraus had always told Natsuki. He had told all the siblings. He always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than an illusion created by Kinzo. Therefore, Natsuki had believed it as his wife, and had supported her husband on that foundation. Even so, Natsuki's words didn't reach Kraus. Even though Natsuki had fought so hard and had lent all of her strength, he continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other three siblings. Natsuki sadly and weakly wondered why she could not be of use to him, then started getting angry. It had happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool their heads. Natsuki had flared up against Kraus. Enraged, she had asked why she could not be useful to him. He had then told her that he wanted to talk about something, and invited her into a room that she was normally not allowed to enter. That room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock, and just looking at it had given her an uncomfortable feeling.
There's no need for you to worry about anything said by those three, or even the suspicious person who calls herself Beatrice. After all, the gold is just a ruse created by Father. There's no way something like that could be found. Your position as a successor is a solid fact. What are you afraid of?
Kraus removed the padlock on the door. He then motioned for Natsuki to enter. Enter.
What is this?
There's something I want you to see. I've never shown you this before. Natsuki timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. It was pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Kraus entered behind her, pushing her in, and when he closed the door before turning on the lights, the two were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Kraus locking the door rang out through the dark.
What are you doing? The lights.
I am turning them on now. Wait. Just as he said, when Kraus pushed a switch on the wall, a flickering light turned on and lit up the room.
That is...
Natsuki had her breath taken away. The room had no windows, and at a glance it appeared to be empty. In the middle of the room, a small, round table had been set, and the lights brightened only that table, as if it were as if it were the leading part in a play. On top of the table, a red tablecloth of elaborate design had been set out, covered with dust, and on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That something took Natsuki's breath away. It's a gold ingot of incredible purity. Without this, no one would have believed in the legend of the gold.
I didn't actually remember them being that big, I'll be honest.
Fucking huge. Like in Gold Fantasia. It was an ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified glint. This is not a proper ingot. I don't even know whether it was cast inside or outside the country. It took a high level of skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots. And in order to verify that purity, it was standard to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it imprinted on the gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry. Look here. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a bar of gold. Natsuki, following Kraus's words, timidly approached the ingot. Right there. Kraus pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsuki concentrated on that section. Right there was the thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. Natsuki's breath was taken away once again. That's right. This is a legendary ingot that father said he received from the witch, that the president of Marso witnessed, and was allowed to select at random to take back with him. That gained the trust of the fixers in the business world. I had to use all possible means to find it. I found it before the other siblings could.
How could... Then, the legend of Father's gold is...
It actually exists. The gold that Ushiromi Akinzo received from Beatrice actually exists.
Impossible. So it really does exist.
Natsuki was shocked. Kraus had always said that Kinzo's gold was just a fabrication, so she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. Since he held definite proof, he had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. Because of this, Kraus was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold he'd failed to find, costing him everything. But to Natsuki, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought that, as Kraus's wife, she should be his closest confidant, which is why she had selflessly supported him. And yet, he had hid this fact from her until today. Why?
Have I been so undeserving of your trust?
That has never been my intention. There was simply no need to tell you.
Is that all a wife means to you?
Calm down. Becoming passionate easily is one of your bad habits.
You're the one who's making me like that, aren't you? I've been supporting you as wife ever since I married into this family. For your sake, I threw away the family I was born into, and I've been offering up my heart and my body to serve you. And in return, this is what I get? How could you?
Kraus grimaced, looking annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsuki, even if he didn't say it out loud.
Jesus. It doesn't look like I'll be of any use to you anymore.
That's fine. I can resolve the troubles with the siblings by myself. I don't need your help.
That's wrong! This is the Ushiromiya family's problem. It is true that I'm not permitted to wear the family crest on my body, but I'm still your wife. Even so, are you saying I'm not capable of helping you? Are you?
I especially wouldn't want to risk getting you involved. It would probably make your headaches even worse than they are now. Take a rest for today. The siblings will deal with the siblings' problems. It has nothing to do with you. That is all. Damn fuck.
Fuck.
A dull headache tormented Natsuki. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what scents she burned, it wouldn't heal. In fact, simply wandering alone through the dark corridors and listening to the sound of the rain seemed to be a better cure.
I may be Natsuhi, but I was never Ushiromiya Natsuhi. I have been despised and treated as a borrowed womb, and insulted when I couldn't even fill that role. Even so, I have tried to properly perform my duties as a wife, but now, even my husband has rejected me. I've done my best raising my daughter, as if it were the last job left to me. However, I've had no release from my anger and sadness, and they've caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too. Because I've been excessively strict in Jessica's education, she dislikes me thoroughly. She despises me for having no interest in anything but grades. There is no longer anything I can do for the Ushiromiya family. No, that's no good. Despite it all, I must help my husband and beat back the schemes of the other greedy siblings. The family head won't be around much longer. Eventually, Kraus will succeed the head, and the next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor whom everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Ushiromiya family. In the days to come, that greedy Ushiromiya Eva will probably be plotting to find some fault with the main family. And if it all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from succession, with George sat up on her place. It is regrettable, but George is a man, and even more, he's matured as a person. Compared to Jessica, who's right in the middle of her rebellious period and whose grades are slightly below average, it can be seen at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her an excellent husband worthy of the excellent person she will have become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows.
Thanks, Mom.
Was Natsuhi
problem.
trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own? Natsuhi thought back to the days when she'd have no choice but to marry into the Uchiremiya family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. Well, you've been clicking a little fast, sorry. She had consciously forgotten it and had actively attended to the life she'd been given as Ushiromiya Natsuhi. And in so doing, she had built up a new life. But just now, I felt like all of that had been casually rejected.
How should I think as I live my life? I do not know.
Natsuhi helplessly rested her head against the glass of the window. The glass, which was cool thanks to the raindrops beating against it, felt somehow refreshing. Even though it should have been emotionless, right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsuhi. At that point, even if someone had appeared, Natsuhi didn't intend to pay any attention to them. But she did pay attention, because it was her beloved daughter.
Oh, it's you, Mom. What the heck are you doing in a place like this? Thought you were a ghost.
Just like always, her words were rough and not at all like a girl's. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose to Natsuhi's throat. However, their strength gave out and they didn't escape her lips.
Jessica, forgive me, but my headache is awful. Please leave me be.
I see.
Jessica was seeing her mother in a position of feebleness for the first time, so she was considerably disconcerted. Until just now, she'd been filled with contempt for all of the parents, including her mother. But now those feelings had been completely swept away. Her mother's utterly exhausted face had wiped them all out. In its place, the words George had told her floated back up in her mind. Our parents are doing their best in their own way, and because their families are counting on them, they can't afford to keep everything pleasant, and they have a heavy responsibility to fight. Maybe her mother had been standing out in the dimly lit hallway, because no one had tried to understand that part of her. Jessica hated her mother, so she had no intention of speaking kindly to Natsuhi, just because she was looking a bit frail. So when she attempted to speak kindly to her mother anyway, she had to clench her fists and gather up the words from deep in her heart.
It sounds like you really got your hands full with that meeting thing.
It has nothing to do with you. Please go somewhere else.
Is your headache bad? Should I go get some medicine?
You don't have to trouble yourself. Please, leave me alone.
Natsuhi wasn't being cold. She just wanted her daughter to go far away so that she wouldn't have to bump against Natsuhi's own short temper. But there was no chance that Jessica would realize this.
Okay.
Jessica hung her head, looking sad. Seeing that expression, Natsuhi recognized the kindness that Jessica was trying to muster. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind feelings.
Then I'll leave? I'll be with the other cousins, so I don't get in the way of the adults. See you later.
Wait there.
She called Jessica, who was trying to leave and looked lonely, to a stop.
What?
Thank you for being so considerate. It isn't good of me to go to sleep and leave you alone.
Don't talk like that. You'll bring bad luck.
I've made you worried, but I'm okay now. I will go.
Oh,
If I let my daughter see me in this feeble any longer, it'll only make her feel more uneasy.
with that thought in mind, Natsuki left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. This time, Jessica called out to her mother's back. Natsuki stopped and turned around, asking what business Jessica had with her. But Jessica herself didn't know why she'd stopped her mother, and for a while she smiled wryly, muttering to herself as she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around in her pocket when her hand touched something and she took it out.
Hey, Mom. I, was given a charm today. What was it? A charm against magic? I'm pretty sure that you were supposed to hang it on your doorknob, I think. I forgot. There's no point in me having it, so I'll let you take it.
It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her on the beach. Although she'd heard of its various effects from Maria, Jessica's mind had gone blank, and she was just barely able to say even that much. Jessica, thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept it anyway, immediately drew back the hand she had stuck out, grasping the charm. So when Natsuki came back to take it, she was extremely shocked.
What is this? Some kind of prize toy?
Well, I think it's something like that. I guess you wouldn't really expect a charm that looks like a toy to do anything.
But her mother took the charm from where she grasped it in her hand.
Thank you. I'll take good care of it. Sometime soon, in exchange, why don't I give you a charm that was important to me when I was a child?
It's not like that's why I gave it to you. But, well, if you really say so.
Then I will rest for now. My headache is awful. Try not to stay up too late.
Sure.
Natsuki put the charm in her pocket and turned away. She then disappeared into the dark hall.
Oh, fuck this bike. It seems the weather will be like this all day tomorrow, after all. Well, duh.
Dang, this makes the good weather we had earlier feel like a lie. Georgianiki and I were killing time in front of the parlor television.
Yeah, fucking liar.
At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she'd calmed down a little since we'd last seen her.
Is Maria still in front of the portrait?
Nope. She just came back, and she's sleeping over there on the sofa. It's getting pretty late for her, after all. Right there. Looking at the clock, I saw it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were planning to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room.
Well, my mom did have a room prepared for us in the mansion. What'll we do? I'd rather head back to the guest house. Going by what we saw of our parents, I think it'd be better if we weren't in the mansion.
I agree. I feel like they're telling us kids to mind our own business and stay out of their way. Let's be good little boys and girls and do that. Whew. As we were talking about this, Aunt Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria. Aunt Rosa, if you're looking for Maria, she's over there. On the sofa.
Thank you. My, she's out cold. We must move her to a bed. If you'd like, I'll carry her over to the bed.
That sounded real creepy.
That was real bad. That was real bad. Allow me to carry this 9-year-old unconscious body to a bed.
That's like a
That I definitely won't sleep in with her. No.
Ooh, that was a little... There
We're
was
going
a
too
line.
far.
There was a line in the sand, and you just
Continue,
kind
Rosa,
of
please.
coded.
You just called her.
Yeah, because Rosa's talking.
Okay.
Not that other asshole. Thanks, that would be wonderful. Are you all heading back to the guest house? Or are you going to stay in the room Natsuhi Nissan had prepared here?
Oh yeah, the other day we were like editing one, and I accidentally fucking called you Jessica. We were talking about you,
Oh
and I
yeah.
called you Jessica by accident.
Fuck. What did I do wrong?
Oh, I don't remember. I just said your name. I just called you Jessica.
Damn.
Alright.
We were just talking about that.
Leia.
I know, I went southern. I'm so sorry.
Jessica got a little southern. Fuck.
We just decided to head over to the guest house. I see. Then could I ask you to take Maria with you? I feel much more reassured if she stayed with all of you cousins.
Behind those words, she seemed to be concealing some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings. Leave it to us, Aunt Rosa. After all, we do have an expert at comforting Maria with us.
Are you talking about me? I couldn't do it myself. We'll need everyone together. That's right. Battler, weren't you the one who hit it off with Maria when we were messing around earlier?
As we said this, Aunt Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
Thank you, everyone. It looks like our meeting will last until very late. So while I'm sorry to burden you with this, I'll be counting on you all to take care of Maria.
Hey, Maria, are you still asleep? We're going back to the guest house. Maria muttered something indistinct, rolled over, and fell back asleep, like a baby. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
She's out cold. I need to wake her. Right, I'll carry her.
Jesus.
Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. I lifted her up and put her on George Anaki's back. It was raining hard outside, and Aniki couldn't... What?
You just called that kid fat.
What are you talking about?
It's a lot lighter than she looked.
It was raining hard outside, and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looked like Aunt Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Krause's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return.
Rosa.
Hey, Rosa.
Oh.
Now that's a problem. I have to go back now.
Is everyone returning to the guest house?
After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the server room opened, and Shannon Chan stepped out.
It has grown very dark, so allow me to guide you.
That would be great, Shannon Chan. George Kuhn is going to carry Maria there. Could you hold an umbrella for him?
Yes, certainly.
Shannon Chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific.
Man, terrific.
It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
Rain's block on rain.
Aniki,
Fuck,
is
that's
she
so
too heavy?
terrific down
Shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry.
Me every time it rains.
Aniki, is she too heavy? Want me to carry her?
Fuck, dude, Maria's fat.
What the
Maria
fuck
fit.
is with you shit boys here?
George's super fat.
George, kind of a fuck.
He kind of a thick boy.
He kind of chubby. A little bit.
One C,
Anyways.
singular
Half
C,
a C.
half C,
No one's gonna know what the fuck that
lowercase
means.
C.
Lowercase.
I don't know, George is pretty fucking thick, I would say.
I hate everything. It's okay.
Is it?
I can. No. I can at least carry Maria-chan. I'm truly grateful. Please, take care of Maria. Sure, you got it. Then I guess this is good night, Aunt Rosa.
Then I will see them over there and return here.
Yes, please.
Aunt Rosa watched us leave. Maria, I'm sorry for everything. Oh, fuck, that's
I
Rosa.
figured it was
Rosa,
Rosa.
Rosa.
It seemed like a Rosa.
Oh, okay.
Maria, I'm sorry for everything.
Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor any of the kids, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. Oh no,
Why'd
Battler
you
was...
say it then? Damn, holy.
Fuck, Scott. Who's?
She's successful.
After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house. I think everyone in this series just says words
Fuck,
sometimes.
really? Dude, sometimes those words are even like different colors.
Shit, you right.
After
Wow,
cutting through the
sometimes
rainy...
people say words.
After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house. Ah, if only I had applied for the position of Maria carrier. Then I would have gotten a chance to have Shannon Chan's huge boobs running all over my arm.
No!
What?
What?
That's not why I did it. It's a misunderstanding. She's brave.
I thought that if I didn't walk like this, George-sama would get all wet.
There is an anime of
No, how did they animate her boobs? Come on, quit babbling and go in.
After being urged on by Jessica, we folded up our umbrellas and went into the guest house.
I don't know. I haven't seen it because I heard it's bad.
It probably is.
It probably is. Has anyone gotten their clothes wet? I can bring some towels if you want.
You don't need to worry about us that much. Thanks, Shannon-chan.
Ah, that's right. We were planning to play cards or something. Would you care to join us for a bit? Huh?
Jessica would say something like that, actually.
Yeah. Huh? Anyways.
Who had the night shift on today's schedule?
I believe we had a special schedule during the family conference. Also, I think a few alterations have been made, so I will go and check.
Wait, if you go all the way back to the mansion to find out, don't force yourself.
Oh, that's all right. I can find out from the servant room in the guest house. Please excuse me for a short while.
Shan-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin room and decided to put Maria to bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. For now, we'd get some soft drinks out of the room's refrigerator and drink those while playing cards or something.
Okay.
Oh,
Soft drinks.
Kanen-kun? And you're here too, Genji-sama. What has happened with tonight's shift?
Kraus-sama has given an order. He made some sizable changes to the shift schedule.
Indeed. Goda-san now has the night shift at the mansion. Shannon and Kanen have the night shift in the guest house. Kumasawa-san and I have been ordered to sleep in the guest house.
Back in the doghouse, mama.
Just now, a phone call came saying that once you arrived, you were also to remain here for the rest of the night. Huh? That certainly is a sizable change.
That nutty old man's not going to be happy that Goda's not in that house.
The shifts at the guest house and the mansion have been completely reversed, haven't they?
Genji, yeah.
Originally, Shannon and Kanen had been assigned the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all their relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa should have been sleeping at the guest house, while Genji should have been sleeping in the mansion. However, it seemed that Kraus had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house. It's probably because of Beatrice-sama's letter.
Why probably?
After such a mysterious letter appeared, it was only natural that Kraus-sama would suspect one of us. We served directly under the master, so Kraus-sama tried as best he could to keep us far away from the family conference. Genji, Shannon, and Kanen were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants were served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, Kraus and the others often viewed these servants as Kinzo's underlings and shunned them. And in fact, Kinzo seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. This sudden shift change was probably a clear expression of the sense of mistrust that it caused. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem with the inheritance came up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
If you would excuse me, I will go rest. If anything happens, call me immediately. Our guest tonight is a special case, after all.
Yes, certainly, Genji-sama. Close enough.
Yeah.
Genji nodded back, went behind a screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
Their faces looked copy and pasted.
The ones who The ones who just returned now, were they the children?
Yes. The other relatives are having a conference in the mansion. It looks like it would drag on for quite some time.
Then we've got it easy. It's already this late, and there's this weather. The rest of the relatives will probably spend the night in their rooms in the mansion.
Yes, probably. I'm only saying this because Genji-sama isn't around. But I'm a little happy I was sent to the guest house, I guess.
Isn't he right there, actually?
Oh? Why is that? Because you can stay away from Madame and Eva-sama? Those bullies? Or do you have another reason?
It's not as though I have another reason.
I see. Oh, I believe
Sure.
Then let's do our best together with our night shift. I'm counting on you, Nason.
Ignore my bee sting hand.
Just now I was asked to go to the children's room and play with them.
Shannon hung her head apologetically, gazing at Cannon uncertainly. Cannon didn't try to meet her eyes, and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister. You can't. You were assigned to the night shift. Besides which, it isn't necessary for furniture like us to respond to an invitation to play. You understand, right?
Yes, I do understand.
Whoa. Shannon's shoulders drooped slightly. She had already expected that Cannon, a stickler for rules, would say something like that, but she still seemed a little discouraged. As Cannon flipped hey, oh yeah!
Jeez.
As Cannon flipped through a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon. Is that me? Okay.
Yeah.
That means the children will be waiting for you. You'll have to apologize and tell them that you have the night shift and won't be able to stay with them. Go and come back.
Yes. I'll go apologize and come back.
Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change and flew out of the servants' room after giving a quick bow. After he watched her go, Cannon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
Cannon, I will be here, so you can go too.
Genji-sama, Shannon was the only one called. It's not as though I was invited.
That is only because you were not there at the time. If you had been, you would have been invited as well. It is good to play as a child from time to time.
No, such a thing is not necessary for me. Human children may have a need to play, but we are furniture.
Is that so?
Nisan is also furniture. Even if she pretends to be a person, it will only hurt her later. I understand that, so I try not to get too close to people. That's all. Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and used a pot of hot water to make powdered cocoa, serving some to Cannon as well.
Little boy likes his hot chocolate. My son.
My son.
Is that for real? I had no clue.
Dumbass, you're way too loud! You'll wake Maria up!
Yeah! God!
Dumbass!
Battler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice...
Shut up, Battler! Fuck!
His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep.
Fucking
Jesus! Fuck!
Jessica gave him a jab and he lowered his voice.
Still, seriously, now that you mention it, they really did have that kind of atmosphere, didn't they? Ha, now I see. So George Aniki is...
George couldn't be seen anywhere in their room. I wonder if he's hiding. A short while ago, when Shannon came into the room...
Order his fucking chin.
Just under the bed. George suddenly said that he'd forgotten something in the mansion. I need to go back to get it. Shannon said she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them departed together.
Well, there's actually been signs of it for a while now. You know, questions about hobbies, favorite things. I always thought it was a bit much for a passioning interest. And look what happened now!
Come to think of it, I get the feeling George Aniki's always been overly nice to Shannon Chan. Now I get it. They're too pure as fuck, actually. Jesus.
Fuck
I
you,
don't know
George
about
is
George.
a trash pirate.
The trash pirate?
Yes.
Trash pirate.
You guys are gonna get along soon. You click, Scott. Fuck.
Oh, that's fair.
I'm gonna fucking sleep.
Yeah, the fucking you two
Two
lovebirds
lovebirds.
here.
I'll be back.
Oh, well, you're like about to like...
You're literally about to be a lovebird with
Wow.
me.
Oh yeah, right.
We have to experience true love.
Oh god.
Here.
She's...
Why?
Hold your thumb. According to the weather report, it looked like...
It looked like...
Fuck, I didn't know Jessica was out here with Shannon.
Nice.
Mrs. Steal Your Girl, I'm here to steal your girl. It looks... It'll be at its worst tonight.
Spit it out. Come
I
on.
can't speak. My tongue is gone. It also seems it'll last all day tomorrow, though it should get a little better.
Really? Then maybe the boat won't arrive until the day after tomorrow. I hope that doesn't interfere with your work on Monday.
Haha.
Why do you have to make him sound like a pirate?
Stop!
She did
I'm
say she was
trying
trash
not
pirate.
to. I'm trying to be serious.
Okay, yeah, serious. Romance. You guys are in love.
Okay.
This is the one of the most important parts of the story.
I'm
Okay.
gonna die.
Yeah.
I need to breathe.
Okay.
I already knew that the typhoon would be coming up beforehand. Just in case I made sure I didn't have any plans for Monday, so it's okay. I may not look it, but I really am the type who can plan ahead in his schedule. You do look like it.
George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the calm appearance George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this abrupt contrast.
It's no surprise you're so well prepared. As someone who will bring prosperity to his company someday.
Oh, the song.
Well, making a company prosper really is a tough job. Money isn't the only thing that's important. I learned that well when studying under my father. Making a company prosper is like owning a castle and leading your subordinates. My dad really loves reading about great leaders during the warring periods in Japan, a hobby that's probably influenced by the fact that he shares Toyotomi Hideyoshi's name.
Close
That
enough.
was a fucking butcher, but alright.
I don't know any language. Much of his philosophy on managing business comes from talking about them. Did you know?
Takeda Shingen.
Takeda Shingen, who was feared as the leader of the strongest cavalry corps in the warring periods, started out with his troops in complete disarray, and didn't have the kind of strong leadership necessary to utilize them well.
Is that true? That's a little unexpected.
In order to unite his troops, Shinge showed his
Shinge.
excellent leadership in many ways. For example, when a soldier succeeded well in battle, he would immediately honor them with a medal. Normally, that kind of thing was put off until after the war, and they were all awarded at once. He continued this diligently while on the field of battle, and immediately showing his appreciation for his troops' military exploits motivated them in an extremely significant fashion. Also, whenever one of his troops was brought down by an illness, he would be the first to rush up to them and care for them, and so on. Takeda Shingen wasn't just the man who led the strongest cavalry corps in the warring period. He was the person who cared the most for his troops throughout that era.
He's just flexing his brain dick right now, actually.
He's trying to compensate. And because he was the kind of person, all of his troops went along with him.
The truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago. Fucking, this is like every time I talk to my dad.
Mood.
But whenever a discussion of his father led to this sort of topic, George would always glow and look like he was having a great time. So Shannon just smiled without interrupting, urging him to continue.
What a nice girl.
The fact that you play my dad and my love interest is bad.
Yeah, this is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Well, make the voices pretty distinct. I'm proud
Of
you guys.
course, in a capitalist world, money determines both your strength and the height of your fortifications. But you can't build up a castle or succeed in war by yourself. Such things can only be accomplished with the support of many subordinates by borrowing their strength. After understanding this, when I look at my father's back, I realize how immature I am. I can clearly see how much competition he had to overcome before building up all he has now.
George-sama, you truly look up to your father. I'm jealous.
Sorry. That's not how I meant it.
I'm sorry. That's not how I meant it either.
You guys are so cute.
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents.
Oh,
She had been brought up in an orphanage owned by Kinzo, called the Fukuin House. Under the guidance of Kinzo, their honorary director, the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job serving experience. If their efforts met with Kinzo's approval, they'd be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Ushiramiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for those who lived in the orphanage. Servants from the Fukuin House all took on names the character On in them while they served.
oh, that makes sense.
So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same went for Canon. All members of the Fukuin House were orphans. At least, they were all people who had been separated from their parents under special circumstances. Because of this, the orphans had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seemed so natural to both of them when Canon called Shannon his sister. And while both Shannon and Canon were working in the mansion today, there were several other servants possessing the On character in their names, such as Manon and Lennon, like John Lennon,
Yeah, man.
who often worked in a rotation schedule. However, there were not many servants who stayed at the Ushiramiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years, so you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for 10 years, was a notable exception to the rule. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Working as a servant for the Ushiramiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the orphans realized what a harsh task working for the Ushiramiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. Maybe the fact that Shannon managed to continue working for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than the other servants. Maybe she'd gotten stuck working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say she wanted to quit. Kinzo couldn't even trust his own blood relatives, and these excellent servants sent from the Fukuin House were the only ones who he could rely on. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control and have them work close to him.
You've been working here for almost 10 years now, right? You must have saved up a lot of money by now.
I wonder. It's not like there's anything in particular I'd like to buy. After all, a few million yen is enough to live off for the rest of your life.
So the reason you've been working all this time wasn't to hit some target sum?
Yes, that's right. I have nowhere to go outside this mansion. And I have been getting along well with Milady and the other young servants. The Madame does scold me sometimes, but caring for the roses and cleaning the mansion is fun.
But that can't be your entire life, Shannon-chan. No. Sayo-chan.
Shannon cast her eyes downward when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and fell silent.
There's something I've learned as I continue to study, even after becoming an adult and a full-fledged member of society. A human's life is not as monotonous or short as we thought when we were kids.
All school-aged kids have certain fears they can't shake. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their lives like sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day, spending their time in a carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it's all over. However, life's only like that for underage students. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as students is nothing more than a blink of an eye, in a period where they break through the shells of their immaturity.
It's like a third of our lives now. I did fuck.
The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating, and boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities.
So far, your life has been trapped inside the shell called Shannon. I think you're under the mistaken impression that your life will continue like this forever.
That's...
Shannon couldn't deny those words. She'd been unable to harbor any clear doubts about her lifestyle, and since she never had any hope or goals for changing herself, she lazily continued living the way she always had. And if asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't have been able to nod. She may have been intentionally averting her eyes from the truth. Without George's admonishments, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away bit by bit, neglected.
George-sama, is it wrong for me to continue living this way?
Yeah, it is. Oh, fuck. Oh, and by the way, didn't you break one of our rules just now?
Fuck!
What?
George immediately gave a strict answer, then broke out into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and she hung her head again, apparently embarrassed.
Didn't you promise not to use Sama when the two of us are alone?
Why would you say it like that?
I couldn't obey that as a promise, but if it was an order, I would have to obey it.
Oh!
Why?
Because I'm
Why isn't it little?
furniture.
I don't like the idea of him being ordering her to
Fucking...
Well, it's like he doesn't want her to talk to him as a superior.
I know, but also it's
Why?
some weird dummy thing when I heard order. I was like, ugh.
I mean,
she's the...
Yeah, no, it just flashed
Yeah.
in my head. You know.
Did you ever say because I'm fine?
hmm?
Okay, I didn't hear it.
Fuck, look at his smile as he says that.
I hate him!
Sorry.
Then it's an order.
Yes. Certainly, George-san.
As Shannon hung her head, her face red. That rhymed. She said George's name again, this time following it with san, in case you didn't know what she just said.
Yes, that's fine, Sayo-chan.
George smiled at Shannon, no, Sayo,
Why?
to praise her small act of bravery. This short exchange alone made it clear how far back their relationship must have stretched. For a long while, the two talked as if the weather raging about them didn't even enter their thoughts. They talked about the many memories they built during their relationship that no one else knew about.
Aw.
Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to interrupt them, but this could sully neither the roses nor the time they spent blushing at each other. Yes? Okay.
That's right. I have something I wanted to show you.
Whips out penis.
Oh, that's getting cut.
No, that's fucking staying. Please, God, leave you.
Recover, my
insane.
friends, please.
Whips out
Get
penis.
back to it. What could it be? Fuck.
Oh,
Let's do
I'm
this,
gonna
okay.
be fucking dying.
Okay, calm down.
You're
Calm
a
down.
bitch, Scott.
You piece of shit.
I did not expect that, strong of a reaction.
Fuck. I'm gonna nut. My insides hurt. Oh.
Okay.
We're mellow now. We're fine.
Yep,
Get up, George.
we're fine.
You're about to be heartfelt. Come on, George.
What could it be?
George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Watching him, Shannon seemed to guess something. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something got caught in the depths of his pocket, and just like the stuttering George, it took him a little while to get it out. It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet.
Oh, this song.
I'm getting some chills, actually.
Me too.
That peculiar shape was enough to tell anyone what was resting inside. Shannon had prepared her heart somewhat, certain beforehand that this was what he'd been planning. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took something out, and held it out for Shannon to take.
I want you to take this.
I couldn't accept something so valuable.
You can't take it?
No, I'm unworthy of such a thing.
God, y'all are so fucking cute.
Don't say that word. It's awesome. Sayo. This isn't a request.
Oh no.
Fuck. Look at that bitch. Glasses.
It's an
fuck.
order.
Glasses.
Glasses gotta fuck up when he says that.
Take this ring. Okay?
Is this a forced marriage?
If it's an order, I cannot disobey.
I mean, she looks pretty happy.
Shannon'd be like, fucking no.
Fuck off. Yeah, that's right. What? Well done. Oops. Fuck you, George.
It gets sweeter
I
than
thought they
this.
were cute for a minute, but
It's-
George had
it's-
to fucking ruin
It's
it.
still cute.
George is such a fucking Chad.
Narrated.
Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. Jesus. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object meant since ancient times to be offered to a special woman under special circumstances. Therefore, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. You guys don't have to act all this out.
Yeah.
Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Shannon's, no, Sayo's own will.
So, from here on, I'm not ordering you anymore. Sayo, I want you to give me your answer by tomorrow, without using words. Do you understand?
Let's go. Looks fucking happy.
How should I?
This fucking dumb face, Jesus.
I won't order you any further, so this isn't an order. But a ring is something you put on your finger, after all. If you like it, you can just put it on. Any finger you choose.
Boom.
Shannon had only pretended not to know.
A toe's a finger.
She already understood what he wanted her to do, but she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
Look how late it's gotten. Let's call it a day.
George turned away from Shannon, acting just a bit bluntly.
I could probably order you to wear it on your left hand. You might be timid and dependent enough to actually obey that kind of an order. Fuck. But I want at least this last step to be done by your own will, Sayo. Understand?
Yes.
So, that's my order. Bitch, you just... I want you to think about it well tonight and show me your answer tomorrow.
Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their many days spent together. This moment certainly hadn't come as a surprise to Shannon.
We should get back to the guest house soon. If we take any longer, we'll make everyone worry about us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just remembered something I had to do back in the mansion. So, I have to go back to the mansion.
At a time like this? Is that true?
George stared into Shannon's face. I thought I was going to say stared into her soul. Stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. Fuck this guy. He definitely saw through Shannon's lie. However, when he saw how she felt, he could sort of understand that she might be so embarrassed that she'd want to be alone. So because George realized the meaning behind Shannon's lie, he accepted it. This chapter's real long, actually.
I'm in love with a stripper. She's popping, she's popping, she's popping.
I really do love to take these fucking.
They're actually...
Oh!
Ooh! We done!
Thank God.
Thank fuck.
That bean is actually kind of cute. That was
So
adorable.
then, wait a minute. How many more chapters do we have left?
That was
in this
adorable
episode?
shit.
We've got a good
What time is it? Real fast.
Almost midnight.
No.
Anyway.
Oh,
Oh,
shit, we should probably
11.
return this. Do these